step 6 feet. Regular meeting of St. Mary City Commission. We'll start with the appropriation ordinances 1278 with storm damage and 1279. Maurice, you
The storm damage one was sent August sometime. I just didn't get the packet, and I believe they hopefully it's gotten checked by now. Yeah. Never got that back. So the Charleston and Wilson charge for $11,911. I kind of put a memo in the appropriations that was in the packet, but that's for our workers' compensation insurance. When they quote that for us, it's based off of an estimate. They then come and do an audit to get the exact dollar amount and then adjust the policy either way. And of course, this one we owed an extra $11,911. That goes to all the departments, not just general fund. The electricom, that would be for that substation project. After you pay that tonight, we'll owe $20,000 for that substation project. That transformer.
That's all we have left?
Yeah, so on my little handout here, we paid $54,250 back in '23, that's the concrete and that sort of stuff. And then in August, we paid $117,000, and then tonight we'd be paying $78,663, and the starting price was $270,000. So that should leave us $20,000 to finish that out. Now that would probably be the outage and the switching of it over. So as you're aware, we have this bridge project that's going on Palmer Road, the county's doing that we're part of. That's going to require an outage to move those utility poles. So Don's trying to work it out so that the outage for the substation and the outage for this switching over the lines can happen the same night so that it's less of an issue. The Federal Signal Corps, $42,491, that might be the last payment on those 3 new storm sirens, which are installed and running. They tested them yesterday. The design shop, that's a new one or an odd one, we don't do a lot. That fire truck bought out of Oklahoma needed new stickers for St. Mary's, so a lot of that went for that, and the rest was for the PD. That very first one, Terry Alexander, $1158, that was for the golf course well house up there. $800 in parts, $400 in labor. We have to keep pumping water out of that well, because if you abandon it after 5 years, you lose your water rights. So we still pump water up out of there for various reasons.
all right, go ahead.
That's all I have.
On the storm siren,
What was the total cost of it?
now, did we discuss which fund that comes out of?
That's been coming out of the sales tax fund. So on my sheet,
Am I stretching to say that maybe because it's,
Well-
probably stretch to say it's a fire equipment fund?
well, so it's to protect the storm sirens protect the city of St. Mary's residents and not people outside of the city limits. That money generally comes from a mill levy, that's for fire district number 1. We talked about it, but ultimately I think it's where it should be.
If there are no other questions, I would entertain a motion to approve ordinances 1278 and 1279 as presented.
Mr. Mayor, so moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second? Motion and a second, all those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. There are none opposed. Those are approved. Next item on the agenda, proposed minutes from the September 2nd meeting.
Good to me.
Francis? Okay, those are approved. Thank you. I understand we want to add Cobb Valley Chamber of Commerce for the Armory.
Armorial, BG Consult, or storm damage.
Storm damage.
There was an email I sent out from VHS, and then what was the third one?
Someone wants to.
The electrical-
Electronics.
Waste gentleman that wants to have a one-time year where people can bring in his, or use electronics. There should be an email in the packet on that or hand it out, so.
So we'll call that, electronics purchasing or something,
Or disposal,
electronics disposal,
yeah.
put that last. So I have, item G, golf, Cobb Valley Chamber of Commerce for, an armory,
Yeah,
hotel, storm damage, India, electronics disposal. Anything else?
Okay, the Lakeview lift station, just wanted to quick talk about kind of timeline, just refresh the mind.
Lakeview Lift Station.
yeah, I had some of my reports on that agenda item.
Which was one?
Storm damage. So I think. All right, good. So the first item on the agenda, library flooring, we spoke about last time, and I think my understanding is we don't yet have a second quote.
We do not. Bob had contacted Fox Rematal, even as of, the gentleman was out all Friday. He was hoping to get it today. Bob's not here. So you can take no action. Or you could have us accept either of the two quotes, it's the lowest. Or some other idea, I don't know. So those are two options.
Well, given that we delayed making a decision because we wanted to have a quote, we certainly should wait, I think, for the second quote. And then I'm comfortable with saying accept the lower of the two. We could wait till the next meeting to look at it. 6 one way, half dozen the other way, it's part of that group.
It's fine with me.
All right. So
Fox
Carry it over.
Foxtel's the other
just
one.
carry it over to the next meeting. The next item on the agenda, family fun days. Thought we weren't allowing fun anymore.
In the packet is a letter from Customer Products requesting use of the park, similar to the previous 2 years.
Yeah.
And the date,
It's Friday.
Coming right up, that'll be a fun.
September 19th from 4 to 8 p.m. So if there's a consensus, or I'm not sure how we normally handle that.
That's all. Can't have a lot of fun for it. Fun, good.
That's fine. They're gonna use the picnic tables with,
So, yeah. If they need picnic tables, we moved them, I believe so.
okay.
So yes, consensus.
All right.
Approved. 4 hours of fun. The next item is the Firefighters Relief Association. This is an annual.
The city's portion would be $478.06.
Just a consensus on that.
Yeah.
Any problem?
Good. We've done it, yeah, we've done it.
That's good, thank you. Armory rental, there's a letter there from Eddie Shaw for the Marine Corps birthday. And he
He's asked-
said it's open that day, no
For
problem.
Sunday, November 9th, 2025, beginning at 3 p.m. So we went ahead and made sure that it was on the calendar, assuming it'd be approved. So once again, if there's a consensus, and at the very end, I think he's asking for support. But,
He just wants us to waive the fee, correct?
well, he's asking for that. But then lastly, if there's a chance for any other available funding to help support the event, those contributions would be sincerely appreciated and used towards the extras. I usually cover out of pocket such as plates, cups, utensils, napkins, decorations, the wreath, etc. But you still have time on that one if you want to think about that, because it's until November 9th. But if you could take action on waiving the rental, that'd be great.
Any consensus on waiving the rental?
Good.
Good. Any rent? Yes, just waive the rental fee. The Public Power Week proclamation.
So that doesn't even get voted on. The mayor can just proclaim, and you don't have to
Yeah,
read
but
it.
you know what I noticed?
Is there a typo?
No. Oh, no, I didn't know it was a typo. City of St. Mary's is a valuable community asset. We are a valuable that contributes to the well-being of local citizens through energy efficiency, customer service, environmental protection, economic development, and then the protecting global environment.
Protecting the environment with this sewer plant, so,
Yeah, sure, trying.
but
I think
anyway,
we signed this annually, and I don't,
it's just proclaiming it, it gives us points in a scavenger hunt that the cities have. We generally do it just for the free lunch, but in this gives it a more, this gives us more,
so we are,
yeah.
that's one way we should go.
Yes.
Good.
You proclaimed it without
I
objection,
don't like the wording either, but it's,
It's fine.
you strike through, it's not leaving the building.
can we do a line item veto on some
You
of
certainly
that?
can, so it's been proclaimed
All right.
without objection.
I have thus proclaimed Public Power Week is on.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to note it's only 12 past, doing pretty well here. Employee appreciation dinner.
That's just to give us the thumbs up to schedule one for this year in the packet, which I didn't get, is last year's data, what it costs. And so we had 110 at $1,100 or so, and then they give gift cards, and the total was $2,850. We have a catered.
Any concerns with that?
To set it up. We'll put some proposed numbers and bring them back. We just didn't want to do that without getting the thumbs up or whatever. So it would be December 7th at 6 o'clock.
Are we going to waive the Armory rental fee?
I hope so.
Yes, we have a consensus on it.
Thank you.
And then the Caw Valley Chamber of Commerce is another request for the.
Waiving of the armory. We're gonna have a candidate forum, I believe, that night.
Oh, okay.
It's on here, the day is available. I don't know, I want to say the day out now. So we have that day handy. Put that in the packet. So that's what we'll print off this afternoon.
All right. Consensus on that?
I'm gonna stay out of it because I'm part of it,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm not opposed to it. I just,
It can be a consensus thing, because you're not objecting.
exactly,
Without objection,
but I,
the call out, I don't have the date
Go
in
ahead.
front of me because
it's the 14th
the 14th
of November, of October.
of October. Okay.
I think Mr. Mayor, so just call the Every Chamber of Commerce, I think, president, CEO, whatever of it, was here one day when I was missing a meeting. So I didn't get to hear his presentation and ask questions then, but I just want to have some questions, just what is it? I was at their website today trying to understand just what is it? You know, anybody can form an organization, say I'm this, but like, what exactly is the Caw Valley Chamber of Commerce? I remember having a conversation a couple of years ago when it started on what the intention was there, but it seems that it's shifting tremendously, like 180 degrees from what the original intention was. And so I think at some point in time, I think that needs to be defined because, you know, the Caw Valley Area Chamber of Commerce seems like it's focused on St. Mary's, focused on specific things, and it keeps changing. It seems a bit random, so now they're running candidate forums. I guess anybody can run a candidate forum. But before saying yes, we're recognizing this group as a group which is there for the good of St. Mary's. So now they get a publicly subsidized building for their activities. I think it needs to be more clearly defined as what is the Caw Valley Chamber of Commerce? What's their purpose? What's their role? Where are they going with their organization? And I think there needs to be some understanding of that. I mean, if they want to do this, fine, but I think it's been a bit random over the last couple of years with some of their requests. Having a hard time understanding their purpose, and so to give them access to a publicly subsidized building, I think it needs to be justified with a more clear understanding of just why they exist. But I think in the future, that might be a necessary thing. I'm a little bit hesitant on this one, but it's fine. We approved it. We did it for the Pot County Eco Devo when they did the county commissioner candidate forums. They were doing them throughout the whole county. There's a much more clear situation there with going from 3 to 5 and all the confusion. They were bringing some clarity to that. So I think it was understandable why they were doing that, but it just seems like this is a bit random, and I think if they're gonna be asking for stuff, I think there needs to be some clarity there in the future, so. Just wanna make that statement because getting emails a few minutes before a meeting asking for stuff is just not proper process, and I think that stuff needs to end, so I think it was right.
And I would just add that we were contacted prior to getting the email, but they asked about it, and we followed up late with getting that email. So they did contact staff, we just didn't get it in the packet, so I apologize for that.
So let's say we have a consensus otherwise to waive that for this time, or not otherwise, but other than Gerard not being involved. And I do remember when we initially had the presentation from the Cobb Valley Chamber of Commerce, it seemed to be focused on business, revitalizing particularly business efforts in the downtown area. And I hadn't really thought about it, but I think you're right, there's been some mission shift or something. So is it possible for us to get,
Want to invite them to a meeting?
to recenter that, to get a clearer sense of that, invite the CEO or something to.
Sure. We can extend the invitation.
Okay. But in any case, that's approved for now. The next item on the agenda is the storm damage. I guess maybe a brief, we got something about an application for somebody to come up for assessment, or the application for certificate. No.
For appraisal,
Appraisal, okay.
but they'll explain it.
Yeah.
That's,
Leonard Domingo, American Commercial Roofing.
Break Valley VHS.
I guess I think the email explains it fairly well. I don't know whether there are any questions about that or that you might have.
and that came in late this afternoon because our meeting was only today. So, might just give them a minute if you hadn't had a chance to.
Yeah, we met with Maurice today to go over where we're at in the process with everything, projects that have started, the problems that we're having with the claim. And, it was get out an email quickly and come tonight or wait 3 weeks. And we elected to go ahead and send something out today.
So can you walk through the email? I did see it, but as I just expressed earlier, it's especially when there's a lot of details there, it's.
Understood.
Thanks.
Okay. So when when you come to an impasse in an insurance claim, and the impasse that we're coming to is that, and Maurice has been copied in some emails from travelers. We've shared some stuff in here as well. Travelers, and we've actually asked them to come back out and do a meeting because, for instance, most of the city buildings have 26 gauge or 24 gauge metal. They initially wrote everything up for 29 gauge. Yeah, if you're a gun enthusiast, the 12 gauge is bigger than anyways, my point is we have even gone to the extent of videotaping, putting a measuring gauge on every building and sending it in, and they said, well, we still don't agree, let's meet on site and go through everything together and let's make sure we agree. How did the first 10 minutes go?
When we showed up, the intention was to kind of hash some things out, obviously, and try to find a consensus between discrepancies in material size and quality. But when we showed up, it was It was more of them just it felt more like a formality for them to be here, kind of entertain our request to fix this solution. Going through things, they just started to take notes and say, we'll get back to you, instead of like working with us through the process throughout the day. So as we went along, ACR provided timestamped photos of damage, for example, and travelers did not recognize the evidence that was presented, and they claimed that that damage that was timestamped was from a later hail storm. So the times, there was a lot of,
You can, that's the email they sent you after that meeting.
yes, and so what they responded with is they completed a hail history report, and it shows that since the original data loss on 03/13/2024, there have been 6 reported hail events in the St. Mary's area. While hail is always covered by the policy and insured has every right to file a claim for new claim damage, I'm unable to add damage to this claim as the initial inspection was completed with members of both American Roofing and DHS Construction and agreed upon damages for $120,000. I was personally at quite a few of those sites, and I didn't disagree. My work in my mind is always receive the document, review the document, and then agree upon things. They took silence for acceptance, I believe, on site. We were all up on roofs looking at damage. I'm not going to agree to things while I'm there. I want to make sure I review the reports and do my due diligence to make sure everything's correct. So I believe that that's a disagreement and something that we have with travelers, ACR, DHS. There's just an impasse. This is something that they don't seem to want to budge on, and this is something that we believe would be right for you as the customer to get you the best quality and repairs to all the structures that you've hired us to repair.
Can you walk through kind of the just keep going through the process? So what are you asking for?
So,
how do you see it working out?
Very good. So whenever there's an impasse in a claim, there's a clause in the policy called an appraisal clause. And the appraisal clause says that if you, and this is verbatim from your policy, if you and we do not agree, or sorry, if we and you disagree on the value of the property or the amount of loss, either may make a written demand for appraisal of the loss. In this event, each party will select a competent and impartial appraiser. The two appraisers will select an umpire. If they cannot agree, either may request the selection, if they cannot agree on an umpire, either may request the selection be made by a judge of a court having jurisdiction. The appraisers will state separately the value of the property and the amount of loss. If they fail to agree, they will submit their differences to an umpire. A decision agreed by any two will be binding. And the last part is each party will pay its chosen appraiser and bear the other expenses of the appraisal and umpire equally. And what that last part means is, if somebody requires an engineering report, both parties would split. We have put together some cost estimates in our original, in the RFQ packet and the qualifications packet. We had submitted an appraiser that we use often and recommend along with the credentials. They're also been following the claim and been, seeing a lot of this stuff. The fact is, so we called and asked, what do they think the estimate of the appraisal would cost? Somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000. Some other information that's, I guess, pertinent is on the, since the beginning of the first time we came out and talked, I don't even remember what the claim was about yet. had mentioned that there was roughly $2 million worth of damage. It's still consistent today. On the current scope of work, we're roughly 600,000 apart.
You and Travelers?
Yes. And then what he was mentioning earlier, and the damage that they're ignoring, we're saying is from later storm dates. We have proof of otherwise. There's roughly another $400,000 to $600,000 worth of damage there.
So could I ask about that? You gave us a list of, you've given us a list before of a number of things that need to be fixed, the total numbers on the bottom, the total amount. I forget those now. I know there was phase 1 and there's phase 2. Is this talking about phase 2 stuff where
Yes,
it's not included in the total? Has that been showing up?
Right, so right now, phase 1 is this. With phase 1 and 2, you've got roughly $1 million that's agreed to.
Okay.
We're saying it's closer to
Okay,
2
so the
million.
numbers you showed us were the agreed to numbers, but you're saying that there's more that should be.
So there's the agreed to numbers in phase 1. Then there's the offered numbers for phase 2, which should be good. And then there's the stuff that's missing, which is here. As an owner of ACR and also working with BHS, between the two of us, we would agree to, help offset some of that expense by covering 50% of that on the city's behalf.
Does that amount, the estimate that, the 30 to 50,000, is that due up front, or is that a, hey, this cost is incurred, pay, or what's the?
Typically, so the way my appraiser, the appraiser that we recommend works is a $2,500 deposit, and then it's an hourly. So to be considered impartial, we can't, it's not a percentage, they have a contract and an hourly fee, get paid kind of like a lawyer as a professional. And then, again, this is if it had to go to umpire. Most umpires, in my experience, require their fee up front, and it's usually a fixed number because they're literally they're going to review photos and reports, and they're going to review Travelers' appraisers' documents, our appraisers' documents, and they're actually just stacking up the differences. They're not looking at the whole project, so it's usually a fixed number.
Do you want to say?
Yeah, question, in your experience, let's assume everyone gets their own appraiser, it goes to an umpire, there's no agreement, and us get involved, like the worst case scenario. What kind of timeline are we looking at there? Like how long does that drag out?
Great question. So first of all, I've never come into this happening. I've been involved in close to 300 appraisals and insurance claims, over roughly 10,000 claims. So the part where I think you misunderstood, when would a judge become involved? So we hire an appraiser, they hire an appraiser. The two appraisers, kind of the first piece of business for them is to select an umpire. They're both gonna produce lists and, professional backgrounds on their umpires, and they're gonna agree to an umpire before coming and investigating the claim. That usually happens within a week or two of going to an appraisal. In the event that those two can't come to an agreement on an umpire, then a judge would choose the umpire, and then the process would keep going. I've never experienced that, so I can't answer the question, but I think your question was a little bit different. So we wouldn't actually need a judge unless they didn't agree on that.
And let's say they do agree on an umpire, from there, what kind of timeline are you like? how
So
long
typically
is-
90 to 120 days from start to finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Dan, I know you've done a lot of claims, and have you worked with travelers before? I'm assuming you have. I mean, to me, it's kind of obvious, I mean, they're just trying to play the long game, that we aren't gonna wanna spend money to go to an arbitrator or go to an umpire or anything like that, we're just gonna, I mean, that's what the insurance companies do. That's their MO, that's how they make, they wanna spend the least amount of money that they have to, because that's how they make money for their shareholders, obviously. But, you said you've never dealt with anything like this particular situation before, to this point?
I was speaking to the need for a judge.
I know you've dealt with insurance companies, I mean, but, so why do you think they're doing?
So I wouldn't say that I've never dealt with this. I mean, I feel like, I thought the first meeting with them went well, the second meeting, several collaborative, conversations, working through scope difference. I don't know if they got wind that you guys weren't renewing. I don't know what changed it, but, and again, I mentioned it in here, on the surface, everybody's being very professional. I feel like their hands are tied. Even if the adjusters agree with us, they're just being told they can't say yes. And, the letter to Braden says, we have 6 new hail dates since the investigation, or since the claim date. And so it basically says, file more claims if you want more money. Well, we have timestamped photo evidence from 2 weeks after the claim. They're just not, their feet aren't being held to the fire, and are, essentially, whether the adjusters want to do it right by you or not, their hands are tied.
But so we file each claim we file, we have a deductible.
Right, which
Yeah,
doesn't make sense anyway.
Oh, it makes sense, because that's what the insurance companies are in existence to do. They know if they push that, we're not gonna want to pay deductibles on each claim.
Right.
So that's why they do it. I don't have anything really great to say about insurance companies in general, so. But I think that's why they do it, and they'll hope that we will just back down and say, no, we don't wanna go through that whole process of filing 6 more claims, I'm not saying any of this to be critical of what y'all have done, because I think you guys have been doing a very good job. I love the communication that you've had with us, and I know you're going to bat for us. It's just, I think that's the way insurance companies operate. They get it right from the top. For whatever reason, I don't know, but that's the way it goes.
So what you're asking for is to start the process and then realize that there could be an expense to the city for the cost of the appraiser, which they're willing to split. And those are the 2 points of interest, I think, that
I say 5.
Just-
That's the gist of it, and essentially, we think it's gonna net $800 to $1 million difference in money to go back into fixing the buildings here in St. Mary's.
I say we fight on this one, Mayor.
That's not one thing that occurs to me is if we were to submit additional claims, we'd essentially be admitting that we were inaccurate on the first one, which is not true.
Correct.
So those would almost be faulty, or you're trying to rip off the insurance company, claiming damage for a period of time that was not the period of time that occurred.
So I'll tell you the same thing I told the adjuster, because when they came out to that meeting, I was hoping that it would go up differently, but I wasn't actually going to be present, but I got a call after they actually started here on this building, and within 10 minutes of it starting, it was like, hey, they're already telling us that they're not approving anymore. And I was like, whoa. So I came because I was part of the first investigation with all and there were my photos that were taken for the most part. We introduced ourselves, who we were, and it was, hey, we don't think we're not gonna agree to anything else. We'd run some reports, we see there's been a lot more damage since then, we think this is new damage. And I said, well, I can appreciate your stance on that, not knowing what I know. Let me show you some timestamp photos. And so okay, that's this panel right here, sir. This is this panel right here. And they literally just said, hey, we're not gonna go any further. And then he got the email later. And that's essentially where,
So your initial estimate or assessment of what needed to be fixed included all of that. So in their,
at least
They're
in
just saying-
the form, they're saying this is new damage, even though they have evidence that it's otherwise.
and so the reason we would want to spend the money for appraisal is because otherwise we're not getting things fixed that need to be fixed.
Right.
They're not, our insurance is not covering.
And we can
them.
have a clear definitive, because once that's done, it's done, here's the path forward, and now you have a budget, and you can all make better decisions and, move forward and put guidance.
Could you just clarify that? Is it that they're not gonna get fixed, or that, like you brought up at the start, how they were recommending 29 versus 24, is it that they're not getting fixed, period, or that they're getting fixed with
Well,
what
they-
you say is subpar material?
I would say there's two parts to that. There is the
You're not gonna allow me to put a 29 gauge metal roof on a 24 gauge metal roof, I don't think. Right, and so, essentially, where the points of contention are or impasse is that the materials aren't correct. Some of the other pieces are, they're still using a price list from March of 2024. It's obviously not March of 2024 anymore, and we all know what's happening in the market. Those are the two big things on the approved scope right now. And then there's also the aside is there's scope of work that they're ignoring and claiming is new damage.
So that's stuff that would not get fixed.
And I will agree that there is new damage, but the new damage isn't stuff that wasn't already damaged in the original storm.
So it had to be
original
replaced.
plan, and it had to be replaced anyways. And that is why we're recommending appraisal.
It seems to me you're fairly confident, given that you're willing to pay for half of the appraisal. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, sir. You gave a couple examples of the gauge thickness on the seal. What are some other examples of what you're seeing that they're either in disagreement with you as far as materials, or just not including in their reimbursement? Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So on site, the most common would be your metal siding. So the storm came in from, it was southwest side. So a lot of the panels on the west side have hail damage. In addition, the garage doors and some man doors on that west side or southwest side. Those did get some damage that they took photos of and we saw in person. So those would be things that wouldn't get replaced. Those are the items that are in disagreement. And other just exterior features on your buildings that,
Membranes, flashing details, different things that are important, especially replacing roofs.
So is the gauge of metal, is this just mainly one building, or is this,
It's the whole city.
so you're seeing this across the city on every single building?
If you notice, phase, there's this many projects, and phase one has this many. Those are the ones that we felt like, we were able to work through very quickly and agree to everything and be you know, within a certain range of, okay, this is acceptable, let's move this thing forward and, you know, help the city get it. I mean, all this work's supposed to be done in the first 2 years, we're at 18 months, and we're just now getting started because this is, we're not getting to where we need to get to put things back together right.
So if we went down the appraisal path and it's another 90 to 120 days where the only work that'd be getting done would be the big agreed upon phase 1 work and the rest is still all in limbo, so now we'll be at 2 years.
So the nice part about going to appraisals, it kind of resets the timeline and expectations.
Okay.
And so if we just let this run to the end of 2 years and we don't get this stuff done, the difference between the RCV and the ACV is gone. But saying, hey, listen, we've tried in good faith to settle this claim with you. We've provided documentation that you've ignored over and over. And then going to appraisal, that resets the stage. There is something to offset your expense in that, which I forgot to mention in here, is once that is settled, there's a Kansas statute that also allows, it's basically, you know, it basically sets the stage that, hey, if the insurance should have settled for $2 million, they settled for $1 million, and then all this time that's passed, there's actually an 18% fee that they would own. I mean, so it may go beyond paying your portion of the appraisal and potentially covering some of the deductible.
So we want this claim to go on longer to get more interest.
I mean, not really, no. I think you guys want to move on and get with the new insurance company.
But our decision tonight is whether or not we want to enter this appraisal process.
And nothing needs signed, it just needs consent.
This is a,
Consensus, and essentially, you know, I don't know if it'd be the city attorney or the city manager, whoever controls the policy essentially has to send a letter to the insurance company saying we're invoking appraisal.
That would be the city commission.
Okay.
And we have a letter and we have the mayor sign it, so.
Perfect.
so we're committing potentially to $15,000 a year. Or no, as you say, 30 to 50, so $50,000 to $25,000,
Correct.
which is significant.
Yeah.
Ideally, it all under this claim somehow then.
I can alternatively, if you give us the interest that's earned, we'll cover all of it, if that makes your decision easier. But I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's in your best interest to,
Well, it'd be cheaper than doing additional claims, I think, even just that.
well, additional claims, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, any other comment?
I said one, and granted, you do this stuff every day, I try to avoid it, but the ACV, right, what we get to start, what do we get to start, or if we don't do it? Like, if I remember the notes from the last meeting, right, so the ACV, if we just decide not to do that project, we're still gonna get the revenue. I think it's fine, I think, you know, try to hold people's feet to the fire, but make sure that they're part of the agreement, that's all fine. I guess the main thing is just, as long as it's not, you know, these are, you know, these are older buildings. I'm sure there's damage, but, you know, a lot of this damage, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if a panel on the west side is a dent, and it probably could be from a weed eater or a mower, and if we would never have replaced it to begin with, type of a thing. I would say that's my hesitancy is, you know, that's kind of, you see where the gray line is there, if we're just trying to get every dent and scratch on this, to have the ACV numbers or whatever. That's my hesitancy, but on the whole, you know, if they're really quoting 29 gauge when it's 22 gauge. That's not good. That's not good. But that's my one hesitancy, is just kind of try to look at it from the city's perspective. Maybe, if it's something that nobody would ever would know this price, but you get it. But that's my one request, is that we try to find that balance with them to really hold their feet to the fire on the quality of the materials pre-post, and make sure we're sticking to that. I appreciate it.
We're talking $500,000, it must be more than, so how do we do this process?
You just say if you wanna move forward with the process, and then they'll draft a
As a
letter.
consensus?
Yeah, a consensus, and I'll have, when they draft the letter, I'll look at it, and I'll sit the attorney review it if need be. And then, it's 3 weeks to the next
I think we
meeting.
better have.
Would you be all right if the mayor would sign it, if the city attorney would sign off on the letter? So,
Okay, so I'm looking for consensus to.
Would we be all right?
appraisal process.
I'm sorry, what was it? Would we be all right with the mayor doing what?
signing the letter, because we don't meet again for 3 weeks.
Oh,
So you'd be
if the city
okay,
attorney-
you'd be okay in the process, and then the city attorney would review the letter, and if he found it acceptable, the mayor could then sign it, and then it'd be your next packet, just as an FYI. All right,
Yeah, okay.
thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Try to get you that letter as soon as possible. All right, next item on the agenda is electronics disposal.
In the email, there's a packet, there's an email, a gentleman that is from Rossville, and he disposes of electronic merchandise that's no longer good. He wants to do a
He or
one,
she?
he,
Carla? Is it he? Who's in that one? Okay, that's fine. Go ahead, Maurice, I'm sorry.
this person wants to set up one time a year to let people bring stuff that needs to be disposed of, electronics to him. So he thought maybe the park, I think we'd leave it to Bob and maybe put him at the transfer station. I'm not sure if there's any liability issues. The email, I'm looking for it here, I don't know if it's it. And did we not print it off? Oh, here it is, right here. I did print it off. I'm offering, his name is Chad. I'm offering what could be an annual fall free pickup potentially at the city park. I'm a professional electronics recycler. What that means to most people is I take unwanted or broken, outdated equipment and completely break it down by components. So he goes on to say that he lives in Rossville the last 15 years, and he also disposes of other items. He's asking for permission to set up once a year to let people bring stuff directly to him. He's saying the park, but I would say if you approve it at a place where Bob thinks it's most convenient, and if that would be down at the transfer station or City Hall parking lot on a Saturday, if you're interested in working with, well, it does say Carla, Mrs. His last name is spelled Shafstall. So that's what we have from that gentleman and his wife.
We don't accept any risk for, it seems like a fine thing to, otherwise it can be difficult to get rid of that stuff, but
Well,
I don't want to be responsible for, hey, he stole my identity because I gave him my,
Yeah, he talks about smelting hard drives there. Go ahead.
He does a lot of stuff for Storm on Bail
Okay.
and stuff like he's apparently pretty well known in this
Alright.
department.
So he knows how to steal identity. Smelting it.
That's what it says. It smells it.
Yeah.
What are you looking for from us?
If it's okay that he works with Bob on one day a year, to be either in the park, I'm thinking maybe bullpen or transfer station or City Hall parking lot. And that he could have people bring stuff to him in St. Mary's. So
sounds like a good idea to me.
it'd be
Sounds
like
good. I'm
fall
okay.
cleanup
Yeah,
for electronics.
good name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
All right, last item, sorry, Lakeview Lift Station. You just gave us something there.
Well, that's for the bond stuff. Francis had added, he wanted to talk about it. And this is the correspondence about what Kevin Cohen asked me to review. It's a draft.
So go ahead, Francis.
So the, Mike, we've had some issues with that lift station not working and backups. It's an important thing. And I think we've gone down this path and decisions pretty much made, let's keep moving forward. Mike mentioned tonight in the sewer work session that there's some more problems with that pump or whatever.
One of the two pumps.
And we also saw that BG, and I think it's all engineering companies, they're very busy, they're juggling a lot. So I think in order to get the project to keep moving forward, I think it might be good just keep it on every agenda and then just stay aggressive with BG as far as keeping the process moving. Because I would hope, my goal in doing so would be to make sure, a year from now, we don't say, well, BG hasn't done their part. I think somewhere, I think if we stay after them, meeting after meeting, and just let them know this is on every single agenda until it's wrapped up, it's the best chance we have to keep this project moving in.
So the lift station one is moving forward. Pat usually calls me every meeting day before our meeting and we discuss things and that's what he asks, should I be here, shouldn't be here, and that sort of stuff. Where I think the push needs to come from is a sewer plant review. But in your hand is this draft document that the bond attorney refers to as a term sheet. This would be the solicitation for local banks. This is a draft, there's no numbers on there. So we got this far. I think when we get this hammered out, I can then, this was just handed out tonight, then we could have BG, because they've talked to each other, Mr. Cohen and Pat Cox and those folks about a time frame, because we left it at that. But once again, they come about this from different perspectives, and it may have to come here some night to finalize it so that they understand what everybody's thinking. But this is a big step, I think. And then in here, there's just some comments, and the only thing I suggested that we change is it says that, hey, they can contact me if they have any questions. I'd say, make sure you say in writing. So, because these questions are going to take the answer on my part. So, I do agree that I need to find out where we're at on this stuff, especially that sewer plant one is here. I'm gonna ask Mr. Cohen for the updated one, and then I'll let Pat Cox know that we're ready, if they're ready, and.
So Daniel works with the same engineering
Yep,
firm.
everyone's BG, the water, the sewer, and then the stuff that.
So I would just add, we'd keep the pressure on them on both of those.
Correct.
And kind of like I think the timeline idea would be very helpful, just where it's like, all right, this step one, step two, so whatever it's gonna be with an estimated by spring of 2026, whatever it's gonna be, just so it's kind of front and center. to
Yeah,
where-
oh yeah, it'll be on the agenda, but then they'd say 9 months at the last meeting. But that's maybe
Yeah,
the worst case scenario.
we still want to be 18 or 24, so
I agree.
and just keep that pressure on.
So I do have that. There's no action to take on the term sheet, but I wanted to let you know what it looks like.
All right, Maurice, reports.
Okay, the bond letter and lift station, there's been, I'm investigating a property for being a potential nuisance.
Is that the email?
I sent out that
That-
the alley over there, the address would be,
People are living in there.
maybe, or maybe just free range out there. But 308 North 6th Street is the address I was given. I've taken a photograph. The city attorney will be here Thursday. If he believes it's a violation of the code, our nuisance code, this letter I have drafted out, will give him a time frame to, that, I'm not giving him a deadline because I don't have that authority. What I'm saying is, I'm investigating as a potential nuisance and it will be on the October 7th agenda. So the gentleman, if he has any questions, maybe at this next meeting, okay? The baseball lights or the lights for the Diamond One, they started replacing those today. Perry was down there. You know, on that insurance claim, so not the lights themselves, but the metal that's around the lights, that part of the claim was, if you look through your packet, it's $27,000. So we're replacing Diamond One, and we should get the full amount. And I'm just gonna ask Perry, Dave, what else could we do down there for lights with that money? Keep in mind that we apparently need a new light at the tennis court and new lights at the volleyball courts as well, Don
Oh,
said.
we need new tennis courts.
Well, another story.
It's another.
We did, I think I may not have had it at the meeting, we did order, 3 Christmas wreaths? 4, and they're ready for pickup.
Way to go, Kel.
And Onyx has been picking them up for us over the years to save the shipping costs, because they're in there, so he's gonna talk to Francis or whatever. And then this kind of involves, the city crew hangs up the Christmas lights downtown, including the white lights along the buildings, and they sometimes don't look the greatest. I asked this Chamber of Commerce, well, they don't look the greatest because they're not straight.
See, that's the worst chamber.
If you look at the Armory, and the one that John Mitchell did for the Armory, he put those lights up on there. I mean, they're straight and level. The ones downtown, the hooks that we hook them into, some of them aren't there anymore. So I've asked them if they would discuss about the building owners, if they're wanting to have those nice straight white lights or colored lights, whatever, put up there, if they could meet and decide that,
Just have
so.
John Mitchell do all, he's amazing.
Well, so I did suggest they talk to him to find out what kind of clamps or hooks or whatever it was he used, so that's not a city agenda, but I did ask that. It's private property, although we do hang the lights, and someone last year asked when they were getting their lights put up, and I said, there's nowhere to put them. But anyway, that's all I have.
What about,
Next meeting is 3 weeks away, regular meeting that is.
when's our next work session?
Um,
Okay, so after. Are you sure there's nothing else? I mean, we were doing so well, and that might as well stay out for another 2 minutes, I guess. I said, you will.
All the time that we're doing something.
That's true. In any case, I would entertain the status motion of all.
one moment. She can give an update on the software conversion thing,
Kelsey.
the admin
We did
software,
have a meeting with them yesterday.
day before yesterday.
Oh, it was yesterday, it was Monday.
I know.
It was supposed to take 2 hours, it took 15 minutes. They were
It's
just
either
going
good or
over.
bad.
I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
They said it was a good thing. They were just going over what our data conversions and stuff were. They're gonna set that up soon and start pulling stuff, so.
And the length of this process, it's gonna take so long that we're gonna have to renew at least partially with our current provider. So that was unexpected.
All right. With that having been said, I'm still entertaining. This is good. We have a stand. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
59.
All those in favor of adjourning, vote aye. And the meeting is adjourned.